Have you ever been watching an anime and went, wow, that's pretty racist? Me too, and today we're going to be taking 5 of the most racist characters out there and ranking them on their levels of prejudice and just outright deplorable behavior. We'll be judging our characters today on how much damage they've done to their chosen oppressed minority group, as well as how mean they are behind closed doors when there isn't even any real reason to be racist. And most importantly, how did this character manifest their hatred into the real world? And how many people have they harmed? This way we can exclude any and all passive racists. Only active segregators have been allowed to proceed onto this list. Just those special haters that have made it their life's mission to make that oppressed people's lives that much worse. Without further ado, let's just get started with the least hateful character on this list, which, with all the criteria it takes to even be on this, they're still pretty damn fucking racist. Tobirama Senju was a prominent member of the Senju clan, and one of the original shinobi to found Konoha, the village hidden in the leaf. Born into a time of war, specifically against their rival clan, the Uchiha. From a young age, Tobirama grew to distrust the Uchiha clan, and harbored a deep hatred for his enemies. Something that followed him even after the two clans joined in peace and created their village in show of the alliance. From the beginning, Tobirama couldn't let his hatred out of any political decision he made. When Hashirama offered to make Madara Hokage to show good intentions, Tobirama said, nah, let's put it to a vote. Thus starting the whole fuckery from the very beginning. Like, how are you gonna disrespect everything from the get-go? What a terrible first impression. Tobirama was always talking behind the Uchiha's back, saying they would consistently be a threat to village peace, which, if anything, only stroked the flames of hate further. This discourse between supposedly allied clans would cause Madara to stand against Hashirama, the first Hokage. And after their battle, they ended up putting Tobirama in charge after Hashirama's death? What a big fucking mistake. Because this man Tobirama made it his life's mission to politically ostracize the Uchiha clan every chance he could, attempting to assimilate them into a much more simplified Konoha culture. When the Uchiha understandably were upset they were losing their autonomy as a clan, Tobirama rebuts, oh, I'm sorry. Hey, why don't you guys just become the police force? Yeah, the Konoha military police force. And so it was. The Uchiha clan was put in charge of the village's crime deterrent, under the guise of still a racist as fuck idea of keeping the Uchiha focused on good things. It doubled as a great way to keep the Uchiha clan under watch and further expose the family's vulnerabilities. Tobirama died, but the tensions he caused eventually reached their peak and resulted in the Uchiha clan massacre, which frankly, hindsight being 2020, Tobirama still would have happily signed off on even if he was alive. And this man, after being revived in the big finale of the series, literally won't shut the fuck up about how evil and hateful the Uchiha are. As soon as they're brought up, he's literally cool with Sasuke up until he finds out he's an Uchiha, and then he's ready to finger blast him.
Hey yo,
Pause.
what the fuck?
Tobirama is one of those white-collared racists who doesn't outright discriminate, but will still talk so much shit behind your back you can smell the bullshit a mile away. He justifies this deep-rooted prejudice by having an Uchiha friend, Kagami, who probably laughs along with Tobirama's racist jokes just to fit in. Although Tobirama made it his life's mission to oppress the Uchiha clan, and ultimately his prejudice downward spiraled into a genocide, he didn't outright call for one, which, if that's the bare minimum here, sheesh. Suguru Geto comes from humble beginnings and starts his journey off as a well-spoken and respectful prodigy at Jujutsu High. Born with a special grade potential curse technique, curse spirit manipulation, despite his strength and natural talent, Geto managed to keep a level head and very rarely, if at all, was shown to be egotistical. Although he was confident in his abilities, Geto understood his power was to be used for the help of the weak and those in need, repeating the doctrine of the authority that brought him into this sorcery life he grew fond of. It wasn't until this entire life philosophy was flipped on its head after the mission involving the Star Plasma Vessel that Geto began to question his innermost morals. After Riko Amanai, the girl chosen to be the star plasma vessel, is assassinated by the sorcerer killer Toji Fushiguro, Geto is beaten down and broken by this anomaly of human nature. As he lay defeated, Toji calls him a word that awakens something deep within Geto. A monkey like you could never beat me. When realizing Riko's death was ultimately meaningless, as the merger not happening didn't actually result in any crisis, and also just standing around while his Jujutsu brethren were constantly losing their lives day after day to protect people who barely appreciated them and the blood, sweat, and tears they put into this, Geto, hanging on by a thread, when coming upon a village in the countryside that has been imprisoning a group of children due to presenting Jujutsu potential, Suguru Geto snaps. After exterminating the entire village responsible, which consisted of no sorcerers, just innocent civilians, Geto turns this burning feeling of hatred in his heart into a deep-seated resentment of non-sorcerers. Geto pledged to eliminate every single human in the world without control over their cursed energy, in order to create a land where Jujutsu sorcerers can live in peace. Now, how did Geto go from such a nice young boy to a genocidal tyrant bent on world domination? To be fair, that is how they all start, but the truth is, in Jujutsu Kaisen, tens of thousands of people go missing per year in Japan alone. Most, if not all of these cases are the result of cursed spirits, born from the negative energy people give off. However, Jujutsu sorcerers, because they're able to control their cursed energy, produce no curses. Technically, meaning that if only sorcerers walked the earth, cursed spirits would cease to exist. This answer becomes Geto's final solution, literally, because from this realization on, and after that mental break, Suguru Geto immediately becomes a depraved, prejudiced individual, bent on not just segregation, but a cleansing of all Geto deems impure. This hatred manifests into the words Geto heard not too long ago, and his new chosen slur for all non-sorcerers: fucking monkeys. Geto, newly revitalized and fueled by racism, treats any and all non-sorcerers as fucking donkeys, less than human creatures that he doesn't even deem worthy enough to call by their actual name. This woman specifically came to visit Geto. "Oh, hi, my name is Sato." And this dickweed goes, "Ah, Saito." "Oh, Lord Geto, that's not my name." "It is now, bitch." After stealing people's curses and charging them obscene amounts of money. After possibly just killing them anyway, just because he feels like it. Geto, because he was just within 5 feet of one of these monkeys, needs to pull out the Axe body spray, hit himself with a couple spritz real quick. Unfucking believable. Can't have himself smelling like a monkey. Geto reaches a level above Tobirama because he takes his racism beyond subtle whispers and sly political moves and just outright makes non-sorcerers feel like shit, and has basically just created a business to scam and take advantage of them. And despite clearly being able to live a comfortable life setting up a permanent shop of debauchery and oppression, Geto still sees no other choice but to genocide the entire planet of non-sorcerers because he feels as if it's his divine right to do so. He's so goddamn passionate about this shit, he starts to cry over sorcerers risking their lives to save another sorcerer. And literally on his deathbed, he says, and I quote, "I still hate those fucking monkeys, oh my god." All because someone had the audacity to call him one first. This is just more proof that racism is taught, children. But frankly, because his planned cleansing fails, his racism never actually reaches the next level. Thank God. Nina Einstein's feelings towards the Japanese, known as 11s in Code Geass, after the country known as Japan was conquered by the Britannian Empire. Its people, stripped of their name, could be described more as xenophobic, as Nina's racism towards the 11s manifests as more of a deep-seated fear and helplessness when in the presence of the other group. It is unknown where this racism stems from, although Millie, Nina's close friend, speculates Nina may have had an encounter with a group of 11s once in a ghetto that ended in assault. Nina is extremely intimidated by Suzaku, one of the main cast, when he first transfers to Ashford Academy. And even after getting to know people like Callan, a half Britannian, half Japanese transfer student, or Suzaku, the moment they step out of line, Nina isn't afraid to immediately turn on them and demean them as the other. Compared to our other members on this list, as stated before, Nina's fear of the 11s overrides any real feeling of superiority. However, by following the criteria of this list, as an active player in the race war, Nina Einstein is the sole responsible creator of the Flea warhead, a quote-unquote nuclear device that upon activation results in the deaths of over 25 million people inside the Tokyo settlement of Sector 11. Yep, you heard me, 25 fucking million people killed by the bitch who was rubbing herself on the goddamn table. Tragic. Nina Einstein is the perfect representation of an unhinged lunatic hanging on by a thread who becomes infatuated with someone. In this case, Princess Euphemia, the Britannian holy princess, and after losing them, feels like the world needs to pay. Fueled by racism, xenophobia, and heck, fascism, an 18-year-old girl who spends more screen time crying than anything else somehow manages to surpass two actual huge players in the race war games by fumbling her way into a nuclear devastation. This is legitimately, so far, the most realistic depiction of how racism can harm the world. Kinda stretching the definition of racism here, the world nobles, also known as the Celestial Dragons, are the descendants of the founders of One Piece's world government. Because of their untouchable status and wealth, they are effectively above any and all laws of the planet. This results in them being able to commit egregious crimes such as slavery in broad daylight without consequence. The Five Elders, top-ranking members of the world government, take prejudice to a whole new level in that every single living thing that is not them is beneath them. The Celestial Dragons believe themselves to be so superior, if one does not prostrate themselves within viewing distance of an elder, they risk imprisonment or even worse, calling anybody who again just isn't them a commoner. They view themselves as such higher entities, they won't even breathe the same damn air as the people around them. They won't even breathe the same air. Out here wearing fucking air bubbles. This is the most advanced classism I have ever seen. I've never seen this shit before. Said, my lungs can't even be tainted by this poor people air. They run around. I'm sorry. They use slaves as mobility devices. They are carried around, stealing people's wives as pets, and just shoot everyone who gets in their way, or frankly, they just don't fucking like that day. These motherfuckers aren't even loyal. As soon as one of their own kind renounces their title, they're filthy humans. Why would you even want to be a part of this group again? Bunch of dweeb-ass slave traders. What really just makes them dangerous is that any misstep or transgression against them will result in pure annihilation. Like, completely vaporized into dust. You will no longer exist just for looking the wrong way. While the Celestial Dragons aren't responsible for such a dramatic catastrophe like Nina, they actively harm and oppress literally every single human in the entire world of One Piece. Like, literally, if you exist, you are in some way, shape, or form probably worse off because of the Celestial Dragons existing. Their kill count may not be as large, but over time, the deaths directly and indirectly caused by them has to outnumber anyone else on this list. And considering they're meant to represent our real world's cult of nepotism and old generational untouchable wealth, they are constantly replacing themselves with descendants, meaning their hatred doesn't just die with them, the propaganda lives on until the entire government is destroyed and rebuilt. Based. Okay, so far we've covered some of the most obscene, hateful ass motherfuckers that have ever graced the silver screen. And before we cover who is, in my opinion, the most hateful, racist-ass, bigoted, and insensitive character to walk this side of the Mason-Dixon, let's talk about some honorable mentions. Mr. Saver, little rambunctious scout he was, decided to take his Eldian armband off and live amongst the common folk to try and have a normal existence. Because, you know, it's literally impossible to tell the difference between an Eldian and non-Eldian until you stab him in the neck with Titan fluid. Racism. After meeting a nice woman, falling in love, and having a child, when Mr. Saver's wife discovers that he's actually an Eldian, irregardless of any happiness, love, or great memories formed and shared between the happy family, this woman slits her child's throat and then her own throat after discovering her beloved spawn was actually a filthy devil, and she had tainted herself beyond repair for breeding with such a devil. The only way, clearly, to reconcile for those sins was death. Another honorable mention, Adolf Hitler himself. I mean, do I even have to explain this one? Probably. Hitler appears as a character in Full Metal Alchemist 2003's movie Conqueror of Shambhala. Hitler, well, you know, started the Holocaust. Did you know he's also a villain in Dragon Ball Z Fusion Reborn? And here he is, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Number one racist ass motherfucker himself, Frieza. No surprises here. I think it was pretty obvious when you all hadn't heard him show up once on this entire list. How could you make a racist tier list of anime without Frieza? A hater who needs no introductions. From the day Frieza was born, racism flowed through his veins. A descendant of galactic dictator King Cold. From a young age, Frieza established himself as a cruel and ruthless tyrant that exceeded the power of his ancestors naturally. Meaning, without any training required, Frieza was already able to overpower his own father from birth. This resulted in his massive ego and superiority complex, creating an indomitable need to control the entire universe and have everything under his heel. After inheriting his father's imperialist army, he was introduced to his new special fighting force, the Saiyan race. Over the course of many years, Frieza would also conquer 448 planets and enslave about 70% of the known universe. Taking the celestial dragon approach of extending your hatred to multiple races of people, Frieza takes this another step further. Who would have even fucking thought this was possible? And presses his dominance over multiple planets of races. But no one caused Frieza to hate more than the Saiyans. These monkeys would become the subject of Frieza's oppression and abuse for the following years to come. Because of their natural strength, fighting ability, and potential to grow, they made great slave warriors. However, they weren't the most loyal slaves. I mean, what more do they fucking want? Equality, human rights, freedom? Fucking monkeys. Anyway, like most racist genocides, Frieza started to get worried his slaves might revolt. Ever fearful of the legendary Super Saiyan, or Super Saiyan God, Frieza decided to completely destroy planet Vegeta. He adds everyone on Discord and tells everyone to come back to their home planet, and then blows that shit up, leaving only a couple survivors. And even after he destroys the planet, Frieza continues to enslave and oppress the remaining Saiyans in his control. But once he realizes that this is pretty fucking boring not having people around to call monkeys all the time, racists hate not having other races to hate on, you know. Frieza packs up and decides, hey, time to fuck with some new monkeys, and sets his sights on planet Namek. And don't even get me started on what Namekians are supposed to represent. So on our journey through the Hall of Segregation, we saw how the fires of hate started off small, burning low with dirty political moves and behind closed doors ostracization using systematic racism. then proceeded to escalate in levels of outright hatred and taking action against the underprivileged class, from attempted genocide to actual ethnic extermination, all the way to worldwide oppression, evolving up into unheard of or thought of territories such as intergalactic racism. One thing's for sure, if there's someone to hate, best believe someone will find a fucking way to hate him. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Let me know if I missed any of your favorite races, or if I harshly misjudged one of the outspoken free thinkers on this list. I appreciate you all making it to the end. Thank you all very much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.